Good morning. Welcome to the Animation Truman Show. Well, is it good news or bad news this morning? It looks to me, at the moment, like bad news because Krita digital painting application has stopped working. Here's a tip for you. Two tips today on Krita. The first one is Krita locked up because I applied a transform mask, which we know are super buggy, right? I applied a transform mask to a layer and animated it over like 4 frames because it was a smash zoom, zooming into something. What I noticed is it appears to me that Krita 5 is a throwback to a few versions ago in the 4 series of Krita, in that if you go to flatten a layer, you tend to have this happen where Krita's caught in a loop of some kind. If you look at the task manager, if you're in Windows, you'll see that the CPU usage went to like 99%. And then as a result, my edit in Vegas essentially slowed to a crawl, yada, yada, yada. So a couple things about that. Number one, if you're going to take a layer and use a transform mask on it, I think the best policy is to do what we used to do in Krita, 3 and early versions of 4 with the transform mask. Actually, of course, you didn't have animated transform masks in Krita 4, but the issue of having to flatten a layer still came up a lot. So you got several layers that you want to bake into one, or you have some animation with a number of layers and you just want to basically improve performance by baking stuff down so that you can work with it as a single unit, or whatever your reason is. We knew a long time ago that flattening the layer tends to cause crashes and or lockups. And so I learned a long time ago that what you really want to do is take the layers that need to be flattened, grab them all, hit Control G to put them in a group, and then do merge group. Back in the day, the reason we did that was because if there was animation in the frames that were being flattened, what would happen is chunks of the pixel data in those frames would just disappear. So it was like a data corruption thing. And even though it's the same operation, flattening a group of layers versus merging a group, you're doing the same thing. But merging the group would not cause a lockup or a crash, and it tended to give reliable results, whereas flattening the layer tended to be either crash prone or you would lose data. Okay, so word to the wise is that with Krita 5, my experience, having been doing a lot of work in Krita the last few days, is that you need to go back to what you were doing in, like version 4.3, which is if you want to flatten layers, put them in a group first and merge the group. It tends to work a lot better. Now, if you have multiple operations, I think I covered this yesterday or the day before. If you have multiple operations, like multiple transform masks within a group, so you've got a transform mask that's being modulated by another transform mask, bake them one at a time. Flatten one out and then flatten the inner one and then flatten the outer one, or I should say merge the groups. Okay. Another tip that kind of might prove to be helpful is that in your task manager, if you go to the details of Krita, you'll see that when this happens that you're at 99% CPU. But if you go to the details, one thing I did a minute ago that was actually pretty helpful was you can go into the details of a process on Windows and you can set the affinity. Now, this only makes sense if you've got a multi-core machine. I've got a 12-core machine. And what I did was Krita was set to the default, which is to use all available CPUs. When I switched it to just CPU, like I picked like 4 and went like that, immediately the CPU usage dropped to 30%. So because it's only able to use a third of the processors. So that saved the system in that I was able to go back to Vegas and check a couple things and yada, yada, yada. The bad news is Krita still crashed. So that's why we got this message. So I'm going to have to redo the shot that I was working on right there. But not a big loss, frankly. I wasn't that deep into it. So let's take a look over here and see what the heck's going on. Frankly, friends, I've been flying like a banshee, and it's purely economic. Truthfully, I said a week ago or something that I was really committing myself to turning the creation of animated entertainment into a full-time vocation for myself. So I've been working pretty close to full-time on this, and I consider myself very lucky that I can, you know. And so that's what I'm doing. And so as we watch this, you'll see that I've been averaging, honestly, 15 to 20 seconds of animation per day, and that's from scratch. So that doesn't count all the little fix-up and things. It's literally starting with a blank slate, doing the pencil test, doing the ink and paint, adding the shadows, secondary animation, lip sync, the whole deal. Everything you're seeing here has been created totally from scratch in the last couple days. Now, what I'm trying to do is be smart about reuse. There's some cases here where 614 was able to be reused in 616, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So what we have is, here's what's going on. Vespar's like, Tianara. So that's kind of a little chuckle moment, and then Golek comes up and what's going on? And he marches in, swings the gate or the tent open. Golek, oh yeah. So Vespar's like, she was here a minute ago. And then the soldier behind Golek says, "It's entirely my fault, Lord. You'll pay with your life." What? So Vespar's like, "Wait, what?" And then so then Golek wheels. So the soldier is contrite. Golek wheels on Vespar, and Vespar is like, Golek, I'm sure he didn't mean to. Golek. So then Golek wheels back around, gives him a quick glare, and then back into the tent. Okay, so this is all, it's a pretty high bandwidth edit, you might say, right? So now that one's all screwed up because this is actually going to be this shot that's going to then smash zoom into a close-up of Golek, and then he'll be in the tent picking up the letter, and we'll move forward from there. So that's what's going on in terms of the edit. Okay, so another thing I wanted to show is if you're a Blender person, you may know that if you have I'll do a quick demonstration here. If you've got some ink lines, all right, so let me just draw a character. Okay, so in Blender, sometimes people will use the noise modifier to give you that sort of anime warble where the lines shake a little bit. It's not just in anime, you see it kind of all over the place actually, because it's become a fairly well-regarded technique. But I figured out a way to do that. Now you can do it by just drawing the ink lines twice. Obviously that's the classic way to do it. If you don't want to have to do that though, here's something you can do, and I've kind of pinned down the order of operations so that you either don't get a crash or don't do things that don't work, because there's multiple ways to do this. But the basic idea is I'm going to take these ink lines, hit Control Insert, and create another keyframe. I'm not 100% sure you need to create the keyframe first, but to be safe, that's how I'm doing it. And then the trick is go into the G mic, which is included with, if you've got Krita, you've got G mic. Okay, and this, in the deformations effects, deformations, random. You can also do it with crease, but I found I was having sort of winky results using crease, and random gave me similar results. Random with a value, an amplitude of 0.3. I think the default is like 10, and you'll see that it's it's pretty crazy what it does to the art. Okay, and if you're into exploring the possibilities with Gmic, you know, be aware that some of these effects can be animated, and it'll actually create a sequence of new frames that'll add to Krita, but you can fiddle with that. But basically, I put it down to 0.3, and then what I did was hit apply and then OK. Now, what I found didn't work was to, if I were to, well, one thing that could happen theoretically is you could have your color and your ink in different layers. So then you might, because you don't want to introduce little gaps in the color, you might want to apply the same effect to the color layer. So what you don't want to do is go to filters and reapply the last Gmic filter. At least in Krita 5, what I found is that just makes Krita go poof, disappeared, gone, dead, that's it. No Krita. Okay. But using the random technique, you can see this is pretty subtle, actually. For the type of cartoon, gosh, for the kind of stuff like Alan Dan does, or you think who else? Really, actually, Darren. A lot of the stuff he's been doing on his channel, Darren T, is the kind of stuff that would benefit from this technique. So I'm going to redo the effect, and let's just set it to 1. Apply, OK. So now let's just loop that, and you can see that really works pretty well. I mean, that's almost amazing. So then what you want to do, you can fiddle around with cloning if you want, but basically what you're going to do is just keep duplicating the frames, or maybe keep doubling it, depending on how long you want the effect to last. So I found that to be quite useful, and basically the application for me, hey Max, the application for me was that through this is such a high-paced sequence that I thought, you know, when Golic, actually, let me put the, I'm going to put the preview on the, I need to put this on number 2. Okay. Best, full. Okay, so now I can switch back to this screen and stay there. So what I was kind of feeling is these situations where once the tension starts to rise, I think it's on the next frame, when he says you pay with your life, I put it there, and then I actually did it here as well, but more subtly. So you can almost not see it on that second shot. And there it is again. So now this is kind of amazing. I mean, this was a static, this whole shot took like 20 minutes, beginning to end. I probably should have recorded it, because the techniques I used in order to just build up a background painting really quickly that's got a little bit of a cartoony look to it, animate the shadows, do the smash zoom, the whole thing was really pretty quick. So I'll have to cover the basic gist of it. Is that it's really just a static painting, and then the transform mask makes it smash zoom. And then what I did was I just took the final frame, zoomed in, made a copy of it, duplicated it to a new layer all by itself, and then painted over it so that once the smash zoom is over, everything looks sharp. And it happens so quick that your eye can't see the change, right? So anyway, that's that. Let's get back to work here. Okay, back to Krita. So for those of you that are into like cartoony stuff, I should think this would be something you're going to be using a lot if you're going to be, you know, using Krita. Okay, so now let's redo the shot that just blew up on me. The way I wanted to do it was I wanted to take this shot of Golic. So this is shot number well, actually, this is 620. Okay, so I was going to steal this from the earlier shot, but actually the still frame in my storyboard has been changed to 620, so I can use that. That probably doesn't make sense to you guys, but or I can do it this way. So I'm going into the shot 612 where this originally came from, and I'm just going to drag this one image into Krita and insert it as a new layer. Okay, so there we're started. And then this is going to actually be shot number 620. All right, and of course, because of the blow up, Krita is pretty confused about what folder we're supposed to be working in. So this is shot number 620, so it's -620 for me. And I'm going to go ahead and save it as ping.cra because that's just kind of how I operate. Okay, so now the thing I was saying at the beginning is, here's what we want to do. We don't need this background image. We're going to do the same thing here with Go, like on the smash zoom, and I may actually do that little warble effect. We'll see. Hey, Aymar. So it's pretty simple. Let's just add a transform mask, and my recommendation is every time you do something that you don't want to lose your work, even though autosave is real quick in Krita, I've been saved by the autosave actually about 10 times in the last week, at least. But what we're going to do is add a transform mask and immediately put in a keyframe. Go back to the timeline. We're going to give the shot basically about 6 frames to settle in. And then it's just going to be a smash zoom. So what I'm going to do is hit the A key for a standard transform. And this is a smash zoom to a super tight close-up of Golik. So the problem we're going to have, obviously, you guys can guess, is going to be about the resolution of the ink lines is going to be too coarse once we get this all zoomed in. Now, I could have opened up 612 and worked directly with the ink lines. And you know, frankly, come to think of it, let's do that. Let me think about this for a second. Yes, there's a reason why we might want to do that. Okay, so we're not going to lose any work because we'll apply the transform mask to whatever we're going to cut and paste in. Okay? So, right now, this is what we have in the shot. This is what we're after, and we just want to make it look tight. Okay? I can see a little artifact there on the background image, by the way, that you can't really notice when it's zoomed out. So that's something we'll want to address as well. So, and I would actually say at 8 frames per second, which I'm determined to stick to, I would even say that's too slow. That's actually too slow. We want the smash zoom. It's 1, 2, 3. It's 3 frames. It really needs to be probably 2 and possibly even 1. Probably 2. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay, so now let's just look at this and save our work. And now what I'm going to do is let's open up 612. And why is Krita absolutely freaking determined now to not remember where we're working? Okay, this is going to be 612.ping.cra. Bah. Let's open that sucker up. And okay, so what we've got here is going to be this layer. I'm going to copy this layer, go into 620, and I'm going to paste the layer. Okay, so, and save my work. Okay, now think about what just happened here. This is actually pretty cool. We're going to be able to do the same thing I was just doing, but we're going to have access to all the original layers. So that's very useful. Okay, the ink color is fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I want to flatten the layer. I save my work. Okay. Being that this is a filter mask, I'm probably safe to do flatten the layer. With a transform mask, I wouldn't chance it. I would put it in a group. So in other words, this is what I was saying to do before. Instead of flattening the layer, which would bake the color adjustment into the layer, what I'm going to do instead is what we used to do in Krita like 4.2, 4.3, which is hit Control-G, put it in a group, and then merge the group. Gives you the exact same effect, but see that? It was instant. So it turns out it's just like it used to be. Merging groups is fast, performant, and stable. Flattening layers is a little iffy if you're dealing with things like transform masks or filter masks. So you guys can choose your own path in terms of how you want to deal with that. Okay, so now what we're going to do Yeah, this is actually quite useful because theoretically we could even use that animation there. We could use that animation on his eyes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this real simple. I'm going to grab this all the way to here, and I'm going to remove frame and pull, which effectively ripple edits everything. And now what we have is a mistake, actually. Okay, undo. You say, well, why didn't that work? Apparently, it only acted on one layer, which is a bit unfortunate, but not the end of the world. I'm going to say, here's pupils. What I'm doing is there's the problem. The problem is that once I bake this down, Krita said, okay, you must not want to see it in the timeline anymore unless you explicitly click and tell it to stay in the timeline. So I thought I had selected all the layers, and I hadn't. I had missed one. Okay? So if this doesn't work, I'll just redrag and cut and paste the layer stack in again. Remove keyframes and pull. Okay, that appears to have worked. Okay, so now we have the same result as before, but we've got access to our ink. Now there is one catch, and the catch is that in this version of it, the tent was in front of him. Here it's not. You know what? I'm thinking I don't really care. So what I'm going to do is, let's see if we turn the transform mask off. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to save my work, and then I'm going to take this transform mask. I'm actually going to drag it up to here onto the group. Okay, so what should happen now is that the zoom will happen to all the Golic layers in tandem, but the background won't scale. If I want to make the background scale, I need to drag it into this group like that. Okay, now it should do what we're looking for. Okay, so we turn the transform mask back on, and let's see what happens. It looks like it worked. Perfect. Cool. So now we can save number 620. And like I said, I don't care that his hat is in front. It would be pretty easy to hide it if I wanted to do that. But the more egregious issue is, and let's turn the transform mask off. While I'm working and painting, if I don't absolutely need the transform mask to be in place to see what I'm doing, then I don't want it on because it's just causing problems. All right, I'm going to isolate this layer. And now what I'm going to do is grab the... Actually, you know what? I'm going to use my oil paintbrush because it looks to me like there's a little bit of a gradient baked into this. So if I'm not careful, I'm going to actually introduce some color changes that I didn't really want. So that's just, yeah, you can see it right there. Okay, so just kind of blend that together and you're good to go. All right, so that solved that. Save our work. Save, save, save. Okay, so now when we enter, the idea is that his eyes go, he looks around and his eyes go to the left. Krita's obviously not filling the animation cache. Boom, boom, smash zoom. So the smash zoom really should be, okay, because we've got an eye blink. Let me see what I want to do with that. I think what I'm going to do is actually favor moving all this stuff a little bit to the west. Yeah, because this whole thing needs to happen pretty fast. All right, and let's just guess that this is going to be, we'll give it 32 frames. Holy cow, a lot of stuff going on in the chat today. Second month is almost done. Oh, okay, yeah. 11-second club. Still working on Castlevania. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. No, I tell you, where I'm at, I just told Val a little bit ago, man, I'm a man on a mission right now. And here's what I figured. If I work full time on this stuff, I can't I can't get into specific numbers, but basically here's the deal. If I can crank out 20 seconds on average of finished animation per day, 6 days a week, that means I can create a 24-minute episode. The animation every 3 months, but let's figure 4 months. Okay? 4 months means I can deliver 3 24-minute episodes, or the equivalent of one 72-minute animated feature film per year. Okay? Those are the numbers. That's really what it comes out to. That's 3 months of cranking out 20 seconds of animation a day on average 6 days a week. And then a month for voices, post-production, fixes, whatever, right? That's the way the numbers work. If the projected estimates of the earning power of a 24-minute cartoon, based on conversations with my film distributor, if his estimates are correct, and I take those estimates and be real conservative and cut them in half. Let's assume it's only going to earn half what he conservatively projected it would. If that happens, then what it turns out is that for me, doing animation full time is equivalent to picking up a new website client and doing all the production and everything else every 2 weeks. Picking up a client every 2 weeks and doing a website, and then now they're paying for hosting on the year, and then of course there's ongoing maintenance. Whereas with a cartoon, once it's released, the work is done, obviously. So that's a bit of a benefit with intellectual property. But I mean, I really sat down and crunched the numbers. I'm going, you gotta try. You gotta try. So that's how it. Once I realized that, it's like, okay, I'm just going to frickin' rock and roll, buddy, and do the best I can. And if I fail, I fail. I don't care. Okay, so now what we're going to do is turn the transform mask back on, and then we'll see what we can do with the ink lines. Okay. So now what I'm going to try to do here is actually, let's turn this back on so I can see when it happens. Bam. Okay, I usually do it that way. I just play it and then feel what kind of feels right. Bam, right there. So I would say frame 13. Okay, so now we can turn the transform mask back off. And then what we want to do is we want to put a keyframe, control insert, on every layer on frame 13. Okay? Now we've got that keyframe in there. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go forward. And what is this? This is the ink, isn't it? Yes, that's the ink. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go forward 1 frame, because if I'm going to make some modifications, wait, let me look at the comments. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm in a little bit of a high bandwidth mode today, and I'm sorry for that. And the reason I'm looking at the Castlevania comment, the reason I push you on that, AMR, is because you can do it. You can do this. And I believe in you. I think really soon I'll simplify it and complete one shot at a time, get some kind of momentum going. The one thing I feel I can get the bit of it to point I'm happy. Okay, cool. Use 3D as help, Razlad says. Yeah, I mean, in some cases, it can definitely be helpful. How many more episodes do you have before you're ready to send it to the distributor? I'm working on the animation for webisode 8. And if we go over to the timeline, you can see, we'll give Vegas a half second here to wake up. But the situation is, I just released this. I would expect in a couple weeks I'll release this. And then there's going to be either 2 or 3 more webisodes. It kind of depends on how it goes, but I would expect probably 3. So I'm working on this right now. So that means that figure it's been averaging 2 weeks per webisode. So since there's a lot here that has to be animated, it's a bit of a mixed bag in the sense that the debate I have to argue with myself is, well, I'm doing the animation pretty freaking fast at this point. So there's no doubt that things are going to slow down because there's a lot of animation here that has to be done through this section. But at the same time, like I said, I've done this, like that section right there. That's just like the last 3 days, right? So you're talking about maybe, I don't know, probably a hardcore week of animation. So the short answer to your question is 4 more webisodes gives me a 48-minute. I do 4 more webisodes, and I'm the first guy in the history of the world to create a 48-minute cartoon pilot, double-length cartoon pilot all by himself. That's a fact. So the even shorter answer to your question is I could go to my distributor now, say, hey, Dave, his name's Dave too. Just say, look, dude, I've got the first episode done. You want to go ahead and release it now? Our original discussions were based on the idea of a double-length pilot to really kick the thing off and generate interest. So, frankly, I'm ambivalent. It's not like I'm in a race to release it sooner, to like make some money or something. It's just not. That's not what it's about right now. What it's about right now is the discipline of doing animation work and everything related to it full time, and really figuring out what can I do here. What's possible to do without either getting too burned out or, fill in the blank, right? So the short answer is I could release episode 1 right now if I wanted to, and it would be probably, I would expect it probably be on all the platforms and everything within a month. But I'm at this point, because it's such a cliffhanger, and I don't really want to release something knowing that people actually might have to wait 3 or 4 months to get the second half. Now, it's true that the 48 minutes does leave you with a cliffhanger as well, but it at least sews up the bones of the epic so that you know the characters and you understand the mission that they're on, kind of thing. There's a lot of things that you don't know, but at least it kind of wraps up the pilot, right? So it makes more sense to me to stick to our original plan, which was to release the double-length pilot all at once. And then at that point, I may start talking to other platforms or exploring. There's a lot of things from the sales standpoint that I could probably start exploring. It's like the Ed Hooks interview I did a couple weeks ago is a good example of what I'm talking about. Here I am just doing my thing very quietly on YouTube. I've got 3,000 subscribers roughly, but basically I'm nobody, right? I mean, nobody's even paying attention to anything I'm doing statistically. It's nothing, okay? But I'm just churning away. I'm going, I'm just doing this thing. And one of these days, when I think the time's right, then I'll kind of maybe start talking about it a little bit. And so even though I set up Patreon and all the rest, I haven't promoted it, and you guys know I don't really push it either or whatever. So the reason I say it relates to the Ed Hooks interview is I didn't reach out to Ed until I already had 3 webisodes posted. So if I'm going to reach out to somebody who's maybe a little bit of a luminary in the animation world, I want to I need to have a little bit of something to show for who I am and what I'm doing, kind of things, right? So there's you want to do the right thing at the right time. And by the way, that's why I kind of rant here on YouTube to you guys sometimes, because here's the problem, is that the temptation is always to either make a discovery or make a little progress on something or have a good idea and then go out and talk to everybody about it. Okay, now that's not a totally bad idea, okay? But it's pretty much a bad idea. And the reason it's a bad idea is because it's a real newbie move, right? Because what you do is you've either got an idea or you've got a little something to show, and then you go start showing all your friends. And there's nothing wrong with posting your little animation on, like Ross did the other day. He posted his very good animation, frankly, on the traditional animation, Facebook group. That's all good. Well, and especially in that case because it's done. It's actually something that's complete. But the danger is that if you talk too early about what you're doing, it actually really disincentivizes you to finish it because you wind up getting the ego dividends and the attaboys from your community. And it's kind of sad, but the truth is that this is a known fact about human psychology, is it actually really diminishes your motivation to see the thing through and really get serious about the hard work that it'll take to really do the darn thing, So, long story short is you want to be careful when you're going to start talking about whatever it is you think you're about, But if you're ready, you're ready, If you're ready, go for it. It's like Valerie with her books, Here she's finishing up the 4th book in a series, and every time I look at a couple pages, she's a little cagey about letting me just read the darn things, but every time I look at it, I'm going, Jesus, it's like grabbing me, and I want to read more, And she's really exemplifying what I'm talking about because she's just quietly doing her thing. She's just churning away, man. 1 book, 2 books, 3 books. She's up to she's writing a book every 2 months. When she's ready, we'll launch the darn thing and see what happens. Do what we do. And then you either succeed or you fail or you're somewhere in between. All right, so let's just look here. Another question, if the distributor gets you on the platform, do you plan to rework the animation to get more consistency? In likelihood, yeah. I mean, that's an ongoing thing, Amar. In fact, that's why I had the comment to Maria yesterday. I said, look, Maria, if you're going to go ahead and spend $50 and get a microphone situation equivalent to mine, then do me a solid and all the voiceovers you've done so far, just redo them. It'll take her half an hour is all because, because she could actually listen to the YouTube videos with headphones and use the looping technique that I've described to you guys that I learned to do as a filmmaker that saves you a ton of time, which is that you just watch the video and you hear the line that's your line, and then you immediately, with no hesitation, repeat it into your microphone. If you do that, she would be able to loop everything she's done so far and plus the lines that haven't yet made it into the show in probably a half hour or so. All the takes will be pretty much what I need them to be because she's just copying what she already did that she knows is the keepers. And then I'll just, it'll take me 15 minutes to replace all of her dialogue with dialogue that's been recorded with, a situation that's going to give us a lot better quality on the voice. Particularly that's going to be more consistent with all the rest of the voice recordings in the show, right? So it's an ongoing process to just keep improving things, and I expect I'll continue to do the same thing with the animation. Or will it be like The Simpsons where it's a work in progress? It's going to be a little bit of both. I'm not going to completely repurpose and redo every shot in the show just because I feel like I can do a little better now. I think that's kind of stupid. Because let's face it, the animation's really important, but it is... this is a show where you do have to ask yourself this question, like The Simpsons, frankly. Based on the character and the quality of the animation, the style of it, and, how choppy it is or how smooth, this type of stuff. Basically, the question you got to ask yourself is, it is what it is. Once you put the soundtrack, the voices, the sound effects in there, does it entertain? And if it does, then it doesn't make sense to redo stuff just because you can. So, the short answer is there's some things that I will judiciously want to improve because they're just bugging me. But, okay, so working on some ordered pizza, blah, 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 Transformers anime. Transformers anime on Netflix. Yeah, I hadn't heard about that one. It's some simple animation using liquify tool on individual layer and mesh transformation for an animation folder, multiple layers in CSP. So they have a liquify tool. That's cool. Yes. Saves time for simple animation like breathing. Absolutely. And of course, I mean, you're a Blender guy too, so you obviously that's a dawdle with the grease pencil, you know. What really matters is for sure the Rick and Morty plot was like flash shit post. Quality of the story. Yeah, and I don't think I've got the best guys. I don't have an Emmy winner here. Okay, this is my first time. It took me 5 movies to make one that was successful. So, okay, there it is. If it takes me, but the thing is, what's not deniable, I think, is that it's getting better and it's getting more consistent and it's getting faster. Although, again, as I've said many times, that's not necessarily the goal or shouldn't be. If I can get a short done 3 minutes, looks like Castlevania. That'll give me a huge boost and would hit a milestone for me. Yep, and it has you something to show that you can say, look, here's what I'm capable of. Give the moxie to feel confident, go out on your own, spend a good year or 2 creating my own series. Yep. Give myself a solid year of doing it. Yeah, so right now the way I feel is I'm looking at it as if I were to do the 3 episodes a year thing for 5 years, basically, actually, if I did it for 3 years, I mean, our cost of living here is pretty low, okay? And so, if I did it for 3 years and again, just a modest result would probably pay my bills. And so, I mean, obviously my commercial clients pay my bills now. So anyway, that would give me my feel confident. Give myself solid years next year. Biggest thing for animation is you need to get that first project done for yourself. Yeah, I mean, if you're looking to make a 24-minute cartoon episode, then for me, I'm actually done. Since the last webisode I released is actually the first piece of episode 2. So it's a trilogy on Cybertron, pretty grim darks. Yeah, the stuff I liked with Transformers was basically the CGI stuff. I liked Beast Wars. Obviously, it looks real crude nowadays, but the thing is, it's kind of what I'm talking about. What was it about Beast Wars? It was not the animation. It's true that the CGI was novel at the time, but that wasn't what sustained that show. Not even close. It was the writing and it was the voices, playing those characters that you enjoyed, like Megatron. Yes. David K. and David K's Megatron. I'd take David K's Megatron over what's his name? You guys know who I'm talking about, the voice guy. He's done so many voiceovers. And of course, now that I want to think of his name, I'm having a brain fart. But okay, so anyway, so it's Transformers Prime I liked. And then there's a more recent one that was a CGI thing that I didn't like as well. It's like basically the characterizations didn't grab me. So just more evidence that the animation doesn't carry the day. So anyway, what are we going to do here? Well, what I want to do is go to frame 14 and then see what happens if we do this. Let's go Control M. And what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do a blur first. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to look for a way to shore up the lines without having to completely redraw them. If I have to redraw them, that's okay. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 1 pixel blur, and then I'm just going to clamp the alpha. Okay? So this might cause the color to start peeking through from behind. We'll see. But essentially, and you could probably accomplish the same thing with a sharpen. I could have tried that, and maybe I will, but So the idea is to give it a little blur so that then you have something to work some contrast with. This the high end is going to make it more dense. The low end is going to sort of clamp it down, tighten it up. So then if I use the curve in the middle here, like so, let's go ahead and take that. We'll take that. And Krita just screwed up again. Control Z. Krita, I swear to God. So I guess what I needed to do was actually insert the keyframe first, because Krita doesn't have the brains to understand that if I make a change on frame 14, insert a keyframe. Duh. So, use last preset. Well, actually, it's not a preset, but anyway, it's a 1 pixel blur. Control M. And yeah, Krita's fouled up right now. It's not remembering my presets and stuff like that. That's classic Krita. Krita is kind of famous for being among the worst resource management applications I've ever used. Just like forgetting your presets, forgetting where you put things. But yet here I am, still using it after all this time. So I'm going to go with that. So you can see we're losing some lines, but that's okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and try the sharpen thing, because let me see if I actually do it here. Let's see what happens here. Yeah, see, Krita, that seems bizarre to me. Why would you not go ahead and create a keyframe? If I were to do a translation, it would put in a keyframe. But apparently, if you go forward on another frame and add a filter, it doesn't work. Okay, so sharpening, not the greatest. Let's try an unsharp mask and see what happens. It's worth a try. It's worth a try. So, preview. That's better. That's actually tantamount to what I did with the curves. So I'm going to repeat that a couple times until it starts falling apart. So let's have a look at these. That's a little blurry. Interesting. I like the straight sharpen the best, actually. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and smack that over there, get rid of these, and then paint over it. Just basically punch it up, smooth it out a bit. So I'm going to grab that. Hello, do you know how to sample a color there, Krita? I feel a little snarky. So, life is good. I've been enjoying doing the work. So, N key. Let's turn on. Well, that's going to require a lot of work, actually. I'm not sure I like that. Oh, duh. I don't know, man. Part of me wonders if I should just render the thing into the shell and see if the untouched up ink lines actually don't look too bad. I'm going to go ahead and jump over to this ink pen, though. Hello? Why is nothing happening? Is there a selection? No, there's not a selection. We're in normal mode. I'm trying to paint. I hit the B key. And I'm not in behind mode or some bizarre thing like that. And nothing's happening. So, okay, fine. I give up. I'm just gonna, I thought I just hit save, but okay. I'm just gonna rerun Krita because it's definitely, since we had that little CPU lockup, it's been a pain in the arse. Discard all. 620. Wrong file. 620. That pinged that crap. Man. And now all of that scribbling that I did is actually baked into the shot because Krita was actually registering all the drawing but not showing it. Interesting. Wow. Okay. Well, that's all right. So I hit erase. I'm in erase mode. And I'm in the ink layer. And I hit the G key. Again, in erase mode. And nothing happens. Okay. No wonder. My fault. Totally my fault. I am sorry. Stupid attack on my part. Everything that went wrong just now was totally my fault, which is typical. And it's all because I was, I had the transform mask turned on. Okay, that was stupid. So, well, we can fix it pretty quick and easy. So, sorry about that, guys. I think I'm going to render this and see what we get. See what it looks like in the show. Because, especially if we put in an eye blink. Let's do that. Did we have an eye blink before? Yes, we did. Excellent. That means we can go like this. Turn the transform mask back on. And render it. Okay, save our work. And if it doesn't look amazing, then life will go on. So this is going to be shot number 620. Boom. Render, render, render. Let's go back to the show. And we need to find our spot. Find our spot in the show. And it's 620. And I believe that is a static image. That is not an image sequence. So we want to go to scene 620. There you are. Render. Hello. Render at 8 frames. And, you know, if it turns out it just doesn't look that good, blown up that much, that's okay. Hi. I gotta say, that actually looks pretty good. So I think we're in good stead. Let's just see how this flows, friends. Zoom. Yes, that looks fine. That looks fine. Properties, disable resample. And I may want to... Let's see what happens if we just squeeze that down and speed it up a little bit. I think the eye blink should happen immediately after the smash zoom. So let's go back to Krita. Shift Alt. That's still too late. So I'm going to take these hello and delete them. There's no need to keep them around. Control R, re-render, and then on to the next shot. Methinks it's 11:17. We got to go to the vet at 1 o'clock. Zuko's got to go to the vet. He's not sick or anything. Okay, yeah. So this goes bump, shoo, bam, boom, right there. Okay, so this shot, let's cut it to the clipboard. We're gonna have to block that baby in the hard way. So here we go. Well, one thing to think about here is probably, okay, let me put this back on the preview. So here we got a little bit of a hiccup. Okay, so here is the shot we're about to work on. Close up, eyes are scanning over it, so yes. And then the Spiegel shows up wondering what the delay is. Okay, so this shot could actually be 612. Okay, got it. Let's open up 612 and see what we have. This can be pretty much closed. Do we have 612 here handy? Looks like we do. Okay. And what we're looking for is interesting. Okay. I'm going to try to repurpose this. I think I can. I'm going to have to do some flipping and stuff, so you guys may find this a little bit interesting, but okay, so this is 621. So I'm going to resave this right now as 621. File, save as 621. Okay, this is where just doing a little thinking can pay off. Okay, Golik is going to stand up and be reading the letter. So, number one, we probably need the tent to be in roughly that position. So, we've got the tent left and right. Let's bake these two down. So I'm going to hit Control E to just bake those two layers together. So now we've got this one layer that's just the tent. Okay, opening and closing. That's fine. Okay, for this shot, we're going to suspend your disbelief in that it doesn't actually make sense that the tent would be open because who's holding it open, okay? We're going to ignore that little detail, all right? So for this shot, we're going to put this back here and erase the rest of it. Okay, so now this is what we have. Now, I don't know why his... Oh, I know why his shadow disappeared. Yes, that is because his shadow disappeared because the tent was closed, so I never needed to put the shadow in there. Okay. But this is kind of interesting. I'm going to save my work again. I'm going to go ahead and bake the color adjustment into... let's try flatten layer and see what happens. I think it worked okay before. Okay, because it's a filter mask, we got away with it. Okay. Now, Golik's got keyframes everywhere. So I am going to actually do a transform of his entire body. And you'll see, I'm going to say, I'm going to go here. Okay, all these keyframes, I'm going to hit Shift, Alt, and I'm just going to move these all downstream. We're going to need them later, but we don't need them right now. Okay. And why is this out of sync now? Okay, so bear with me, guys. This is where, Mr. Dyslexia sometimes struggles to keep things straight. Let me move this back, and of course it was supposed to grab the whole column and didn't, because, yeah, right there. Grab the whole column, but yeah, doesn't actually do you any good. I swear, if it wasn't for the animated transform masks, I would be still using Krita like 4.3, maybe 4.7. It just boggles my mind. So what we have here is stupidity incarnate, which is, yep, sure enough, the one most important layer that remain in the timeline isn't there. That's what went wrong just now. Okay, so now if I select the whole column, Shift Alt, and of course, as I said, it doesn't work. Okay, Krita, I went Shift and selected these, and then Shift Alt, and look what it does. It says, oh no, you didn't really mean to select the column. Oh no, you couldn't have meant that. I swear to God. The interface is so stupid. And I use the word stupid liberally in the sense that it's like really that stupid. It's like working with somebody who is so brain dead that you're like everything they do wrong. Every guess of what you might intend, it always guesses wrong. It really blows my mind. So, and those of you who are saying, well, then why do you keep using Krita? Because it's the least egregious of the available tools for most of what I'm doing most of the time. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a keyframe to the left, multiple keyframes. Actually, I don't want to do keyframes. Sorry. What I want to do is hold frames, actually. Now, is Krita... Okay, this is a good example of guessing. If I say insert a hold frame, is Krita going to say, oh, you want to hold the current frame you're on? Or is it going to insert it behind the current frame I'm on? I'm thinking that Krita is going to guess correctly on this, which is, if I want to insert hold frames, I want to insert them on this column, right? So if I insert hold frames right now, and what Krita does is move everything downstream, including this column, then I'm going to say, okay, Krita, yep, you're as stupid as possible. ASAP, baby. Couldn't be any dumber. But I think it's actually going to get it right. And it looks like it did. Okay, so hold frames, I want to insert multiple hold frames. So kudos to Krita. Krita guessed right this time. Right after I said it always guesses wrong. So shame on me. All right, so now what we're going to do is go back to the group, hit the A key. So we're baking the keys in the hard way. And I can put in more keys than I need because I can always take them out. And if you're concerned about that little bit of noise there at the top of his hat, well, you're correct. That is a problem, and we're going to have to fix it at some point. Okay. Yes. Okay, so now this bit here. And so the key thing with this shot is two things. Number one, Golik needs to be in front of the tent, not behind it, number one. And number two, everything about Golik has to be flipped. He's pointing in the wrong direction. Although, of course, I could change what was in the storyboard, but I don't think I'm going to. So this gives us Golik standing up. And frankly... yeah, all this stuff, we'll get rid of all this for this shot. Don't need it. And then come back here. And put this here. And then this needs to be back here. So now what we should have, there's some problems with the shadows, but basically what we should have is Golik standing up. And other than that flash on his arm, okay, Krita is not refilling the animation cache, so I'm literally scrubbing, and when I'm on frame 8, I'm not seeing what's on frame 8. But again, that's just like, that's normal for Krita. Normal, normal, normal. Okay, so I'm going to reverse these two. 1, 2. So you might say this seems like a pretty onerous thing to have to do, but the fact of the matter is it's still going to be a lot faster than completely redoing the shot from scratch. But basically, this is what I wanted. Okay, now what I'm going to do, save my work. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit of liquefy on the whole group. Because what I want to do is just change his posture a little bit. Okay. And obviously through most of this, his eyes should probably be closed here, and they're looking in the wrong direction as well. So there's that. Okay, the shadow there looks okay. Shadow there is kind of okay, but I think what we really want to do is take this shadow and pop it back to there. Control, and of course, see again, Krita guesses wrong. I specifically don't try to grab the whole column. I grab just one frame, and then what Krita does is as I go to control drag, it says, oh, you must have wanted to do that, and select the whole column. It's like, it just boggles the mind. Oh, I stick with it because it's fun to complain about how stupid Krita is. I love you and I hate you at the same time, Krita. I love you and I hate you. Okay, and this one probably should smack it up there. Hello. Okay, so the only thing we have different here is a little bit of a change in orientation. It's got the second shadow layer. So the second shadow layer could probably be likewise dragged to here. So probably nobody's, I can't believe anybody's around. Like, it's got to be so like annoying to hear me complaining about Krita. Oh, so sad. Dude, why don't you just use Clip Studio Paint? Dude, why don't you just use TV Paint? Dude, why don't you just use Flash? Because I don't want to. That's about all there is to it. Okay, now we're actually, let's do the flip thing. Okay, so Golik's in a group, and the tent needs to be behind him actually, but in front of Vespar. So let's move this down there. Okay, so now we've got that correct. What do you use, Awkward Penguin? I mean, I certainly can't, I can't say that, oh, jeez. I'm on the wrong layer. Well, okay, suffice to say that I've gotten more grief out of Tahoma in the past week than Krita, if you can believe it. So the thing is, it's like I said yesterday, it's crazy because if you save your work frequently and you take precautions as you learn where the edge cases are that cause like crashes or stupid behavior, generally you can avoid it. And you can also recover from it with Krita. So it's like, Krita's like annoying all the time, but yet you can get work done. Tahoma, what Tahoma did to me the other day is one of those things where the problem is something that you didn't know was going to happen that's massive, that destroys like a bunch of legacy shots that were done months ago because of basic inability to keep track of external files properly, which of course is fundamental to what Tahoma or OpenTunes is all about, right? Clearly, since that's what it does, is it keeps all the image data and stuff external. So I'm actually safer generally with Krita in that all the image data is baked into the Krita file. So I always have backups somewhere where I can, you know, sort of steal things from somewhere else. Okay, so let me think about this for a half second. probably, there's going to be some hand painting going on here, but this is what I think would be making sense right now, is let's duplicate the group, turn it off and lock it, and then let's merge the group so that we have a flat version of Golek. And frankly, probably all of these, yeah, because I can hand paint over this and make it look pretty good pretty quick. Yep. Okay, so now what I want to do is flip the whole thing. Okay, so the obvious easy way to do that is to add a transform mask, hit the A key, and just free transform, just flip it. Okay, and then I would say for my purposes, probably he's going to wind up about here. Now that's probably not quite right. So the transform mask is not animated, so I'm going to basically say that sort of balances out the shot pretty well. Yes. Okay, now that I've done that, this is what I said earlier is a little dangerous. Flattening the layer may cause Krita to totally lock up. So what I'm going to do instead is grab the layer with the transform mask, Control G to put it in a group, and then merge the group. 1, 2, say 3 seconds and it's done and it worked. That's the difference. Merge group is pretty reliable. Flatten layer is very unreliable, which makes no sense since they're both doing the same exact thing. Okay, and by the way, I don't know what's in the script. I got to look at what's in the script, but it could be that having this in here where Vespar is doing some talking, you know, I could totally see Vespar going, "What is it?" Right? I don't know if that's in the script. It's possible there's something like that in the script. Let me look at the script real quick. I'm going to do that. I'm going to just get rid of these keyframes here. What is it? Okay, and now, and just duplicate this here. What is it? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to add that in there. I think it adds a little bit of sparkle and life to it. Now all I got to do is punch up Golek. So, I'm modifying the script right now. So, Golek picks up the letter and reads it. Okay, I actually have, I need to look at the script here for a second. In the script it says that Vespar says the king looks mad. So clearly Vespar looks back and sees the king coming. I'm gonna redo this a different way. So I'm just gonna actually have Vespar saying what is it, and then Vespiki's gonna be showing up, going, "Oh, what's going on here?" You know, kind of thing. And at that point, the script starts working again. So save that. Boom, boom. I use everything. Currently using a lot more Blender. Yeah, if I was gonna, I don't know. I mean, if I was totally starting from scratch, I probably would be more in the Blender camp. Go. But I, you know, like I said, I mean, look, for all my bitching and everything, the reality is I'm still knocking out 20 minutes or 20 seconds of finished animation per day. So it's like, okay, you know, you can't really argue with that. Okay, so let's do this. Let's get the final positioning here. Let's redline it. Okay, so let's get our brush, make sure I got the right brush going. Okay, and I'm not going to worry about, okay, wrong color there, Jack. X key. And let's take Golek make him a little bit transparent. Okay, so this is what we're trying to do, is Golik picks up the letter. I'm not going to bother with trying to show him pulling the letter out of the bag. I don't think that is necessary. That just slows down the storytelling and kind of insults the audience, frankly. So if Golik was looking in the right direction, this would be fine. Okay. Yeah, you know what? Frankly, I mean, he's got a little body shift here, but I think let's do this. Let's hit the A key and let's just do a hard-coded shift here, just so there's a little bit of movement on that last. Boom, boom, boom. Okay, and then what we're going to want to do, because remember, Golik's been flattened, so therefore the letter's going to come up in front of him, so I can hit GE and actually just chop this out. And then probably let's isolate the layer, which brings all the colors back to full level, and then just put a little bit of an arm back there. Okay, so again, we'll fix his eyes shortly, but now what we're going to do is get this inked and then animate it in reverse. You know, pretty simple. All right, so B key. I usually use the X key to toggle between the foreground and background color. So now, here we go. Okay, what's going on? Something's going wrong here. Ah, we're in behind mode, of course. Sorry about that. I want to make this fairly crisp. Fairly simple. 5 key, N key. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. Now I guess we'll kind of do the old scrolly kind of thing, just for fun. Make it look like the paper's got a little bit of hang to it. Okay. Got it? Good. All right, so now what we're going to do is isolate the layer, and then we're going to do 2 quick and dirty filters, adjust, colors, color to alpha. Let's get rid of the red, and then let's take the alpha channel and really clean it up. You can see in the histogram where the pixel data is, so we want to make sure we're in front of that. Okay? Now I can hit the B key. Close these shapes. Okay, grab Golik. By isolating the layer, I can boop, sample the flesh tone. Go back here, isolate that layer, and we're gonna fill it. We're just baking the color in this case. Okay, and by the way, this is kind of important that we have that there. All right, and so I assume we're going to use kind of a yellowed parchment kind of idea. So let's go fill that. I would say let's just let's bake in a shadow. So I'm going to go B key, go like that, fill that, sample that, and fill that. Okay, and then, you know, colors, I mean, as far as the shadows go, I guess, let's... sorry, we're in behind mode. So this is probably not completely appropriate shading methodology. Oh, come on. Seriously, you're going to leak on me? this is where having them in separate layers would really be a lot smarter, because as you can see, I have to do some quick hand cleaning up because of the if you let the fill bleed over, if you let the fill bleed over, then obviously you're going to cut into your lines, and if you don't let it bleed over, you're going to have to clean it up like I'm doing now. So either way you lose, and the answer, of course, is to just have the color on a separate layer. So spank me for that, baby. Spank me for that. However, basically it looks fine. Now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do a shadow the old school way, which is to alpha lock at 12% and just go ahead and smack in some shadow action. And there we go. All right, save our work. Unsolo that, and we can turn Golek back up. Now the question is, of course, his eyes are facing in the wrong direction, but that's okay. So what we're going to do again is we're going to animate in reverse. So Control Insert, and I am just going to, actually, you know what? I think I'm going to leave that there. And then, as I said, I'm going to go in reverse, but I'm actually going to animate forward. And then delete the first frame. Or better yet, just drag it into position here. Probably not the worst idea ever to have, I guess I don't need this one here, so Control Shift X. Have an extra frame of movement. So after Golek quits moving, his hand moves a little bit more, is what I'm saying. So the whole thing has a little bit more of a sparkle of life to it. Zoom. Okay, now let's fix Golek. He's all baked into single layer. So this is just going to be some hand painting. G key. We do not want to be alpha locked. We do not want to have opacity at 10%, and we definitely do not want to be in behind mode. Excuse me. B key. All right. So I could do some cut and paste, but I'm not going to. I'm going to just do this the hard way. So here, then I'm going to say let his eye start to open, and then here his eye can be open. Cool. So here we want his eye closed. Here we want his eye starting to open, and then his eyes open. So boom, boom. Grab our ink color. Punch that up. I'll deal with his pupils here in a minute. Okay, and actually, let's just put his pupils on a separate layer so we can animate them and not have to fight with it. Now, it looks like those lines are actually not in the, I think they're in the tent layer. They are. Okay, so we got a little corruption in the tent layer. No problem. All we have to do is hit the G key and the E key and draw a lasso around this whole area. There. Cool. Got rid of it. Okay. Let's see what we've got. Obviously, the top of Golek's hat has to be addressed. And it certainly makes sense right about there Shoop. Bap. Yeah, right about there. Let's put in an eye blink. So I'm going to go Control Insert on Golik. Let's make sure we're in the right layer. And of course, Golik is not pinned to the timeline because Krita always pins layers to the timeline unless you don't want them to. Then it does, and when you don't want them to, it doesn't. You think I'm kidding. You think I'm joking, people. I am actually not really joking. I would really be curious to know what Krita's algorithm is for deciding whether layers get automatically pinned to the timeline or not by default, because I so far haven't been able to figure it out. I think what happens is the very first frame that you start with in a scene doesn't pin to the timeline automatically, and then subsequent frames you add are pinned to the timeline. And I don't know that it's something that's available in the preferences. Crazy, huh? Crazy, I tell you. Yeah, that feels pretty good. Okay, shall we fix this hat? Let's do it this way, friends. Let's go here. And actually, while I'm thinking about it, let's erase that. Let's fix that little glitchy poo. And then we'll get the yellow piece on there. And then I think we will be just have to animate his pupils, and then we're good to go. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll kind of do, well, actually, let's sample that color. Here's a layer. We're going to insert an animated keyframe. Okay, a little bit of a hiccup there at the end. Okay, that's fine. Golik moves. I mean, this is where a transform mask would be helpful with this, because mainly because you have to reset the center point every time. So many things about Krita would work better and not require new features that are buggy as hell if they simply made the program so that the tools remember the last thing you did so that you can repeat it. It makes all kinds of animation operations stupidly simple. But there it is, friends. There it is. So hence, I'm moving this over to that corner so that I've got a steady you know, way to control the rotation. Okay. And now let's double check the movement. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that layer now that it's done and looks good. I'm going to hit Control E and just bake it down into Golik. No reason to keep it separate. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just do the pupils. Pupils, and I don't expect they will be baked in. So I'm going to insert a blank keyframe. And we're just going to hand draw these one at a time. Let's grab that color. I don't want it to be like totally black, but maybe just a little more black. I mean, in other words, not black, but but a little darker than the ink lines, like just a tiny bit darker. Okay, insert. Trying to keep my. This is one of those operations that would actually be easier on a regular tablet because your hand isn't physically in the way. Okay, so what I want to do is I want his eyes to dart. N key. Yeah, see, this is where you got to be careful. So I'm going to hit the selection tool, A, so I can get those positionings dialed in. So then what I want to do is wait a few frames. And then he has a blink. And then he would, you know, theoretically come back to the next line. And then I'm going to say probably we can duplicate these like that. And I'll bet you any amount of money that's going to look pretty good. Let's find out. Looks pretty good. And I'm going to put another blink in there. And then I think what I'm going to do, since Vespar says his line, let me see. I think what we'll do is we'll put this here. And I'll probably have to redraw these. Oh, maybe not. Just got to get them lined up there. Boop, boop, boop. Yeah, and then it's going to cut away to Vespigi showing up. So Shift spacebar. Of course, Krita doesn't go back to the beginning unless you do it twice. Okay, the only thing I'm not liking here is, oh no, Krita, don't do that to me. OMG. Well, fortunately, I have a preset for my layout so that when Krita doesn't lock the panels like, you know, the intelligent program would, I have a way to compensate for it. So what I wanted to do here is on the Golik layer is here, I'm not totally happy with this. So I'm going to just kind of feel this here for a minute. I feel like I want a little tweak in his positioning. And of course, that's my fault. I put, yes, I forgot that the eye blinks are baked into Golik. So what do you do with that? Well, let me show you what you do with that. Am I sure I like that positioning? I do. I like the way he falls into it. Okay, so what we'll do is quite simple. S key, I'm going to grab this whole region right here. And then I'm going to go to the next keyframe, hit delete, and then paste into current frame. Next keyframe, delete, paste in. Next keyframe, delete, paste in. Next keyframe, delete, paste in. Okay, and why did it switch to Vespar? What did I do that made it... Okay, I'm not kidding, people. This is one of those moments that makes me want to scream. Why? Okay, apparently the paste in didn't work. Control Shift V. So, I hit the keys. I'm really sure I did. All right, let me see here. Awkward Penguin's got a few comments. Yeah, Tahoma. It's always back and forth. I'll probably be, you know, like next week, I'll probably be using Tahoma for everything. It just depends. People know there is a letter. It makes sense that it would be that letter. Exactly. Considering the bag was empty before. Specifically when Mel looked into the bag. You're right. Actually, that's true. Okay, yeah, I was thinking that was an inconsistency in the program or in the show, but it's not, because you almost threw me there, buddy, because Mel looking in the bag hasn't happened yet. So you guys know that happens, but from a story sequencing standpoint, it hasn't happened yet because it's Golik that took the letter out of the bag. So yeah, that's wow, that's hilarious. When does that happen? Is that right? Or do I have this backwards? I actually have this backwards, which means that I am wrong. I think I might have a continuity issue. Um, which means it's not a big deal. I mean, stuff like this is easy to fix. Yeah, he found the bag. So the problem is that can't be the bag. It has to be just the letter. So yeah, I was wrong. I've actually got a continuity problem. No big deal. What has to change is that this shot cannot be the bag. It's got to be just the letter. So, 5 minutes of painting, not a big deal. All right, so we'll come back to that. Yep. So this shot, I think, is actually complete. I saw a little hiccup right there. Okay. So this, yep, got a little hiccup because of the way I modified the. So I'm going to I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a note on my to-do list to change that drawing from the bag to the letter. So thank you for pointing that out, Awkward Penguin, because I would have left that in the show probably and discovered it much later. Yeah, so this whole shot really only needs to be like 32 frames. 32, and this is 621, so let's render this. 621, not 612, but rather 621. Okay, we'll cut it into the show, and then I think at that point I'm going to sign off, and then probably go in and fix those bag shots, get rid of the bag and put the letter. Thankfully, on those shots, the bag is it's on its own layer, so it'll be easy to fix. So, but yeah, thanks, Awkward Penguin. I appreciate that. So we'll cut the 621 into the show just to see how the flow feels. Oh yeah, so that's a tight close-up. And so this is going to be 621. Wakey, wakey, there it is. Wakey, wakey, no mistakey. Come on. Come on. Come on, Windows. Come on. You've only got 32 gig of memory and 12 CPU cores. I think you can maybe open a file in less than 12 seconds. All right, 621. Boom. Properties, disable resampling, and this is going to be, he says his line, Golik looks back, and this needs to be cut out of the show, and the next thing that happens is a real tight close-up on Golik, and then Vespar shows up. So there's the mistake right there. That needs to just be the scroll, if you will. Okay, this should be more lickety-split on the entrance. So this should not be holding like that. It should be more like that. I'm seeing a little hiccup there on the... No, I guess it's okay. So and again, I'm a little out of gas, so I don't want to deal with this like right this second, but I would say that you're seeing a little bit of a hiccup there on that transition because the ink lines change. That's easy to fix. And really, the shot should start with gullet completely down. I think I'm going to fix that right now. So let me turn off the preview over here. Go back here. Okay, yeah, so what we need to do is go to Golic, and we'll just keep working backwards here. So this is going to be pretty much just a straight, you know, and this may not work. You can obviously complain about the fact that his head doesn't really, okay, now that's interesting. Yeah, we need to not have that gap in there. No, actually, that's okay. So let's just say here, he's bent over. That needs to be gone. Let's see what that feels like. Ah, it's not bad. Not bad. Yep, Control R. Oh yeah, I want to fix the ink lines right here. So there's Golic, B key, and the problem I'm going to have is it's actually, honestly, it makes more sense to do the opposite. Take this and paste it into this frame. Control Shift V, and then just drag this over here like that. Because really I like the softer ink lines anyway. So that worked. That worked. Oh, come on. Really, Krita? Seriously, dude? I guess you got to make sure you hit enter after you do a translation. Dave, you silly fool. All right, Control R. Boom. And then we'll jump back to the show, make sure everything's looking good, and then I'm going to quit. Transition. Let's see what we get. And now this shot actually should be back to the beginning. A little bit of air. Yeah, not bad, friends. Not bad, other than the debacle of not having this be the scroll. But now one wonders, let's go back to 620. I am going to say, why don't we put a little drop in 620? So File, Open Recent. So 620. Whoa, let's see here. He's got the blink, and we really don't want to have this on the screen any longer than necessary. So we've got some danger here because this has a transform mask baked into it. And so, okay, this is more complicated than I thought. Why? Well, what we need to do is move the background out of frame, duplicate the transform mask, and copy a second copy of it onto the background so that Golic and the background are separated from each other. So I'm going to have to bake it down. Control G, merge group. So this will take care of baking down the background. Assume it doesn't take forever. If it locks up and freezes, then I'm going to go ahead and quit the session right now because it's too frustrating to sit here and wait for Krita to bug out and fail, which it looks like it probably is. It's kind of bizarre. Think of it this way. This is why things like this baffle me so much. Is when you play it back in real time in the interface, you just hit the play button. Everything that the transform mask is supposed to do happens. So it's clearly already been calculated. And yet when you go to bake it down, you know, total lockup freeze mode. So now even putting it in a group and doing merge group didn't do the trick. So it seems to be caught in an endless loop of calculation. I'm hitting the task manager and I want to check what's going on the CPU side of things. Yeah, 79. Well, yeah, see, there you go. So Krita, in order to bake down what is already done in memory, obviously, requires Krita to maximize 94% of the CPU on a 12-core machine and basically go into a locked condition for all intents and purposes. Now, this is going to dominate and destroy my entire machine, right? So anything else that's, you know, on my system that's open is at risk. So the solution is to actually open this up, go to the details, and set the affinity so that Krita is not able to use all CPUs. And probably what's going to happen is Krita is going to just basically run out of gas and complain that it quit working. That's what happened before. So, but the good news is that means, see, now my CPU usage is much lower. So, but yeah, nope. Krita it can play this back in real time, but when you say, well, just bake it in then, nope. Now you're in total locked up state and the whole program becomes crippled. Why am I not surprised? So my advice earlier about putting it in a merge group is, so actually the real advice, and there it worked. Okay, it finally worked. So that means that what really happened was that merging it, baking it down took many minutes. Let's put it that way. Took a long time. Not only did it take a long time, but perhaps more interestingly, it looks to me like in the process of doing that, it also said, oh, and by the way, the pixel data for this stuff that you're baking down, the pixel data for frame 1, or for the first frame, you really didn't want that. You really didn't want to keep that. So we'll just throw that away. Yeah. Right. Okay. So I think what I'm going to do is hedge my bets by not baking this one down. So what did I say I was going to do? Well, I've got this transform mask already, right? So let's just go to the transform mask. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hope this works. I'm going to take this keyframe and I'm going to drag it to here. So we've got a duplicate keyframe, so nothing changes from here to here. And then I would say over like 2-3 frames, I am going to, wait a minute. Dang, I'm going to have to bake it down. I'm going to have to, well, no, there's another way. The other way is just to smear the hat in. Okay, you guys are going, what are you even talking about, dude? All right, so this is what I wanted to do. And I'm going to have to bake it in. Obviously, taking Golek out of the background image would be useful too, but you know, pretty important. But actually, like I said at the beginning, for all those who are wondering, why the heck do you keep using Krita? Trust me, we're going to make this work. Okay? The first thing I'm going to do here actually is stop everything, make a duplicate of this group, and then take the transform mask and move it. Now let's see here. I think the safe course of action is going to be to create a dummy layer and move my transform mask down to the dummy layer. So it's still got something that it's you know, relating to. Now I'm going to take Golek and merge the group. That worked fine. Okay. Now that I've merged the group, now I'll add the transform mask just to Golek. And what we probably are going to get is, see what I mean? Just by doing the right things in the right order, it was no big deal. You know, I just made a backup copy of the group with all the layers, took the transform mask off of it, baked all the layers down to a single layer, then applied the transform mask to that. Now, I will almost guarantee you, since it's about as simple as possible, I can probably flatten the layer. Let's see what happens. I don't know. It's sure having to think for a long time. It's sure having to think, but then again, the merge group that we did just a minute ago took like what, 90 seconds or something? You know, here's the thing. If I'm going to complain about that, you have to ask yourself, well, if you were going to accomplish the same thing in terms of baking things down and then reusing assets and all this, if you were going to accomplish the same thing in OpenTunes or Tahoma, what would you have to do? It would still take you 2 minutes because you'd have to take a stack of layers, render them out to the hard drive, and then drag them back into OpenTunes as an image sequence. I mean, that's how you do it because there is no baking stuff down in, you know, OpenTunes. So on balance, it turns out even when it acts stupid like it is right now, it's still, you know, you're still getting your work done at roughly the same kind of pace. So the basic issue now is it's stuck in this loop where it's not baking down the transform mask. And I don't really want to wait. So what do we do? I definitely need to paint Golek out of the background image. But you guys get the idea. So we're basically stuck here because Krita is being Krita, and that means that stuff that should take 4 seconds takes 12 minutes because it's buggier than an anthill at a picnic. I mean, that is for sure. Krita is one of the... I'm just going to kill it. I'm literally going to kill it. I had to do this like a dozen times a couple days ago. Just keep killing it because I had to do the same process like 50 times just to figure out how to do what's the sequence of operations so that it doesn't go into a lock condition. You know, okay, which shot am I working on here? I'm working on 620 or 621. I can't remember. It's all a blur. Okay. Yes. Okay, cool. So again, recovering is doable. All right, so we've got a single layer here with a transform mask. Now what I said was I did flatten layer and it hosed me. So I'm going to go Control G and I'm going to try merging the group. Now the last time we did that, it still took kind of a long time. So let's see what happens. You can see it's thinking. Hey Ed, grouping the layer and flatten the group. You mean merge the group. He means merge the group. So Ed's saying to do the exact same thing that I said to do at the beginning of the session today. Is this has been true with Krita for a long time, that flattening layers is buggy as hell and merging groups is way more reliable. It used to be that what would happen is when you flatten the layer, whole chunks of your drawing would just disappear in some of the frames. They fixed that, but now, and basically version 4.7, 4.8 in that range was really stable. With version 5, you're back to the way it used to be. Flatten layer is very issue prone and merge group is better, but as you can see, I put it in a group and look what's going on. But I did the same thing with the background a little bit ago, and what happened? it merged. It took like almost 2 minutes to do, which is baffling. But there it is. So it's a little embarrassing because I can't like freaking get any work done because I got to sit and wait for Krita to, you know, cancel operation and save. I will tell you, Ed, maybe you can weigh in on this. I have never, in 2 years or plus of using Krita, I have never seen this work in any version. Cancel operation and save, I've never seen it work, so maybe it'll work today. There you go. Cancel operation and save, does nothing. Okay, guys, here's what we're going to do. Look at this, 99% CPU. It's just baffling. How in the world? You know, I just think that the devs, I think they just get so excited about being able to talk about the features that it really doesn't matter to them whether the features actually work or not. You know, it's more fun to announce a new release than to actually make sure the damn thing isn't buggy as hell. Okay? Call me an idiot, but that doesn't really make sense to me. But okay, let's keep rocking here. All right, so now we've got the background painting. And golly, forget it. I'm not even going to try doing it that way. I'm not even going to try that. We need to do a total. I'm going to have to totally reboot this shot. Reason being I didn't realize that I had Golek baked into the background. Well, I flattened the layer, and now I need to get back to the constituent layers that don't have Golek flattened into it. So it's just a really stupid mistake. And considering how much work I've gotten done in the last 2 days, frankly, I can only say that probably because I'm live streaming, I'm screwing up like a lot more than I should be. So that shot is the shot we need. We need 612. And we can, let's do it this way. 612 is where he opens the tent, sees the thing. Okay, then we got the smash zoom. So the smash zoom 620, that's what we're working on right now. And the only thing I was trying to do, friends, is modify this shot so that Golek starts to drop out of frame. So when we cut to this, it makes a little more sense. It's really not that important to do. Frankly, it's not really that important at all. But what you would want is just like 2 frames right at the end where he just kind of starts to move out of frame. But I don't know. I think I'm just going to stick it with the jump cut and live with it. So then we're going to have a super tight close-up on Golek, and then Vespigi shows up and, you know, all the poop hits the fan. So there we go. That's what we are working with. So, any questions, guys? Because I tell you, thanks for coming, Ed. I hate to like bail as soon as you show up, but yeah, I've been going for 2 hours, and frankly, because I'm bumping into so many Krita stupidities on the one hand and mistakes that I'm making on the other hand, I feel like I'm ready for a break here. It's coming along. I mean, I've been averaging 15 to 20 seconds a day of animation where it's like from scratch, like blank canvas, pencil test, ink, paint, the whole deal. I'm at the pace I feel like I need to be, and basically, as you say, it's feeling pretty good, looking pretty good. I think my drawing's been getting better, you know. So like most all this stuff's been really done in the last, well, not that shot. I guess that shot was about a week ago. So this is all in the past week. Just trying to crank out the story. So this is all episode 8, right? I just released episode 6 2 days ago, and episode 7's ready for music and voice and everything else. So just to recap, those who are curious, I'm working on animation here on episode 8. Once we get through episode 8, mostly episodes 9 and 10 are animated already, but there's just going to need some punching up. And so once I get that done, I'll have 48 minutes. I'll have a 48-minute 2 double-length pilot show, you know. That's what we're after, baby. So I expect there probably aren't any questions, because frankly, I'm just not that interesting of a guy. But I'm going to watch this one more time, because I really just want to make a judgment here. How important is it that I don't think it's important. It feels like a Tarantino edit, you know? It's like you just cut to the next thing. You don't need to see his head drop out of frame. Anybody want to disagree with me on that? If anybody wants to strongly disagree, then please feel free. But my sense is that we're probably fine to just leave that shot the way it is and then just cut to that. So basically, the real issue here is that that's not supposed to be a bag. Let's do that. I'm going to jump in here and just do it. That's shot 619, so let's leave this one alone. 620 is good to go. We'll save it. And what we need to do is 619. There it is. So, and it looks like yeah. Okay. So there's your problem. This is all in a group. So this is, oops, we want to go here. Yeah. So this is wrong. This is severely wrong. This actually, GE, well, I might want the color. So let me grab this parchment color right there. Hit the E key, erase that, and then what I really need here is something like that. Okay, and Krita, disagree with me if you want. The default on the freehand path tool is curve, and I always have to switch it to raw, and it always goes to curve by default. In all the years I've been using Krita, I've wanted this to be on curve literally one time. Never once has curve interpolation actually been useful. But by gum, it's the default. Okay, so what I'm going to do, sorry, we weren't supposed to be in erase mode, is go like that. And then what we're going to do is add a brush, kind of go down here, and we just need to go like that. That's really all we needed, friends. Okay? And then what we're going to do is we're going to hit the G key, go to black, turn the opacity way down, alpha lock it, and then what we're going to do is get a shadow underneath, and then darker shadow inside, and probably all in all it's a little too bright, so that'll make it sit in the mix a little better. And now when it cuts to this, obviously that's wrong, so I'm going to grab this, and by the way, it's magic. Okay. So once we get to here, actually what's happening is once we get to here, it switches to a separate layer. because, yes. So actually, we'll just turn that off. Hello. Turn that off. And I don't even think that needs to be, I don't know. I'm just going to render that and cut it into the show and see how it looks. And if I want to punch it up a little more, I'll do it later. I know, it always goes to curve. It's like, I hate that. Because the freehand path tool is really, really, really useful, you know? And I just always have to remember. So, okay, that's it, guys. That was quick. That was quick. I knew it was going to be a quick fix. But, so now, look at there. That was too easy, right? Okay, what time is it? 12:28. So we got to go to the vet in half an hour. So, all right, guys, I'm going to sign off with that. Thanks for hanging in there. And, sorry about all the whining and complaining about Krita, because your mileage may vary. But anyway, it's been fun. We're rocking. We're rolling. And as you guys know, there certainly will be more later.